Hi everybody. This episode of Take a Sip is titled Using My Tools. In 1 Samuel chapter 19 is when it starts talking about David before he was king, when actually King Saul was actually trying to kill him. And you can go and read that story if you like, but it was a journey as far as David running for his life and running from Saul, who was constantly trying to kill him. My purpose of creating this video is to let other people know some of the things that I have used in the past and will be using in the future to get myself through tough times. I understand that everybody learns differently. I understand that everybody may have their own ways of doing things, but if anybody is trying to figure out what's going to work for them, I just wanted to share what worked for me. I'm going to start with the scripture in Matthew chapter 11 verses 28 to 30, and I'll let you know ahead of time that this is going to be part one of the video topics that I will be doing with these Take a Sip episodes until I've covered all the tools that I have. I'm going to go into detail as much as I can as far as explaining what the scripture means, because it's a scripture that I'm going to start with, but it's also the encouraging scripture also. So Matthew 11 chapter 11 verses 28 to 30. It says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." The first thing it tells us to do is to come to me. And this is Jesus actually speaking, saying he wants us to come to him. When I read that he wants us to take the first step. And not only does he want us to take the first step, but he is inviting us. He's saying, come to me. He also wants us to come in his direction. When we are going through tough times in our lives, we can turn so many different ways. We can turn to drugs, we can turn to alcohol, we can turn to many different things that will distract us from the problem that we face. And he is actually giving us an invitation to come to him. One of the things that I did when I faced several difficult times in my life, but one of the greatest challenges, the first thing I did was I actually prayed. And what I prayed for is that God would give me strength, because I knew that what I was facing, I was going to have to go through it. I already knew that it was not something that I could run from. I knew I was going to have to go through it, and the first thing I did was I asked God to give me the strength to go through it. The next part of the verse says, all you who are weary and burdened. What I want to point out here is that everybody is invited. It says all who are weary and burdened, which means anybody can come to him, and that's exactly who he is inviting. He's inviting everyone. When I look at the word weary, I looked it up in the dictionary, the dictionary on my phone, and dictionary.com says the meaning of weary means physically or mentally exhausted by hard work, exertion, strain, etc. When I first read it, just from my own limited knowledge, I just thought, oh, well, weary must mean tired. I read that definition because I like that definition much better than what I came up with as far as tired, because weary means a lot more than just tired. physically or mentally exhausted by hard work, exertion, strain, etc. The next part of the scripture talks about those who are burdened. So that was the next word that I looked up in the dictionary. And according to Merriam-Webster, it says to make someone hold or carry something heavy, or accept or deal with something difficult. And what I want to point out here is a burden doesn't necessarily mean something that is physical. It can be something physical, but it also can be something that is emotional. So I don't want people to walk away thinking that, oh, well, you're just doing a lot of work. No, a burden is actually something that is, it says here, to hold or carry something heavy or accept or deal with something difficult. And I think that all of us can say that we've had at least one thing in our lives that was something difficult that we had to accept or deal with. The last part of the scripture says, I will give you rest. So Jesus is asking us, and he's inviting us to come to him. He is saying who can come to him, which is all who are weary and burdened, and then I will give you rest. The thing that I take comfort in this verse, and why I consider it to be an encouraging scripture, is because it says, I will give you rest, which means we know that there is a reward for going to Jesus with our problems. One of the first tools that I wanted to talk about is my concordance. And if you don't know what a concordance is, I didn't know what one was either. My parents actually gave this to me in 1997. And you might look at this book and you might say, gosh, it looks so new. It does look new. And that is because if you've seen any of my episodes before, you know that I've made plenty of life mistakes thinking that I could do life on my own without this. So that is one of the reasons that it looks so nice, is because I did not use this as much as I could have or should have. But I wised up, and I want to let anybody know that it's better late than never. But basically what this concordance is, and they do have apps out there. I apologize, I am not tech savvy, but so I can't direct you to that, but I can do some research, and I'll probably link it in the description box if I'm successful at it. If not, just know that you can get one of these at any Christian bookstore, or you can get them online.